Welcome back to Straight Facts on Tuesday. I'm joined as ever by Dan Potts and LB. How are you, gentlemen?
Very well, man. Me and LB got the memo. You did not, Terry. We're wearing white today. What's happening? Come on, man.
I fancy wearing a little bit of City Sky Blue today.
No, that's not sky blue, bro.
It is a sky blue. It is just a bit dark. Although I walked my dog in it earlier and I just realized it's filthy, to be honest. I didn't get changed. I didn't change. Couldn't be bothered. It was too hot. It was too hot.
I tell you what, it's not hotter than here, bro. Spain, mate, on me jollies, absolutely scorching it is. I'm actually really thankful for this show, man, because I needed an excuse to get out the sun, bro, because I was baking there, man.
I'm going to say, though, bruv, the tan, what's the tan? What's the tan saying?
Where have you gone on holiday in Ireland or what?
I've only been here 2 days, man. Relax, bro. I got to get that factor 40, man. The UV rays are high, innit?
I'm not going to lie, by the look of all three of us, I think we're all the kind of men that just go red, peel, and then white again.
Yeah, man. Do you know what I call it? I call it the drumstick squashy tan, mate. Do you know what I mean? Where you get like the white, then the red, and then you go white again. That's what happens in me, man.
I think I'm going to have my kids, I'm going to have a DNA test done for them because they look a bit like me. But they go in the sun, they just go brown. Their skin, it just goes brown instantly, right? I can't be their dad. Somebody else out there has to be their dad because I'm the pastiest guy in the world. I cannot get a suntan. I try as I may, I never go brown. My kids, honestly, mahogany as soon as they go into the sun. So I think I'm gonna have to do a little bit of a DNA test to make sure they're mine. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know what it is about my pasty skin, but there we go. Could be worse, could be ginger. Nothing wrong with a bit of ginge. Nothing wrong with a bit of ginge.
I love a hint of ginge. Hint of ginge.
Yeah, a lot of my nieces and nephew were ginge. None of my kids were, which is fortunate for them. Big up, Chloe. Hope you're watching, and Ava, my nieces. Hope you're well.
They'll love you now.
Yeah. Oh, Ginge, as I call her, she's like, I hate being Ginge. I'm like, why? She goes, because of you. That's all she was listening, because of you. I'm like, I'm sorry, Chloe. Lots to talk about today on the show. We're talking Chelsea, Liverpool, City, United, Arsenal, some transfer news. Lots to go. I want to start with Chelsea, though, because just before I went live, I saw this tweet from Rory Jennings. It made me laugh a little bit out loud. Then I looked at the squad and got where he was coming from. And Rory Jennings has said, and I'll show it on the screen, that what these bastards have done to our club is unforgivable. I think he's talking about Clearlake and Todd Bowley. Our 1994 side that finished 14th in the league and lost the FA Cup final 4-0 to Man United is better than this squad. And it's Rory Jennings reacting to the squad going on the USA tour, simply stating how poor it is. Even some of the new young signings they've made are not going. Some are, some are not. I mean, it is looking a little bit threadbare, boys, isn't it?
Well, look at that. Look at the forwards. Look at the forwards there. I mean, I've known Chelsea over the last 2 decades to have some serious forwards. Even before the Abramovich era, when they had players like Tor Andre Flo and Zola and Hasselbank and Gudjohnsen. Look at the state of this. This is embarrassing, isn't it? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I kind of get where Rory's coming from here. Like, I have said for a long time that I do not understand the fans that are believing that this ownership are taking Chelsea to the very top. I find it very, very hard to believe. And I've said for a while they look like they're finished. And I personally feel like there's a lot of Chelsea fans that I speak to that are really against this ownership and really don't understand where they're going with it. I will say that obviously it's not their full squad that's going for the title this season, right? We're going into the Premier League this season. So there is a transfer window that's open. But Chelsea, I've said it for a while now, I've got to be serious this window if they do want any kind of success this season, in my opinion. I don't know what they get.
They're not serious.
Go on.
They're just not, bro. We've said it. How many shows have we come on here and said the same thing? These guys have spent over £1 billion, yeah, in what, 2 or 3 years, and they're not even in the top 4, bro. Like, they are not serious. The people running Chelsea do not know what they're doing, and there's some Chelsea fans that are just going along with it. And I'm so confused as to why these Chelsea fans are going along with it, because they have had an owner in Abramovich in the past that was ruthless, that brought them success. And listen, not everyone was a massive fan of the way that they operated the business and the firing and the hiring, but who cares? They probably was one of the most successful clubs this country's seen in the last sort of 20 years. Yeah. And they've got this new guy in who don't know what he's doing. Yeah. He's buying players that they don't need to buy. He's probably selling players that you don't need to sell. Why he's getting rid of Chalobah, I have absolutely no idea. I think he's one of the actual pretty solid players that they've got. So I don't really get that. Really get that. I just think it's a wild situation, bro. And every single transfer window, he just seems to make mad moves. And why is he getting rid of Chalobah for? Is that still happening?
Yeah, apparently Chalobah. They still want to get rid of Gallagher, don't they? Who I think, I don't think he's an amazing player by any means, but certainly he was one of the better players, in my opinion, for Chelsea. Chalobah as well. Both come from, the youth academy as well. So I don't really get it. I don't understand it. I'm with you, LB. I don't understand. I've tried to convince make Chelsea fans convince me, like Don and some of the others, that this is going to work, but I just can't listen and understand it. I really don't. I have no idea what this Maresca is going to be, who some of the Chelsea fans now think is going to be as good as Pep all of a sudden because he learnt off of him once. It is a real sort of copium, isn't it? It really is. And listen, I hope for their sake that Chelsea bang and we're all in the mud. But I do not look at their squad and think, cool, yeah, that's going for the title, isn't it?
But you know what's mad, though? How can you say that? How can you say that there, Dan? Yeah, that you just said there. Oh, I look at their squad and I can't see them going for the title with the amount of money that they've spent.
I know.
At what point? Because you know what? Let me defend you and let me defend Arsenal, right? People, including myself, right? Terry as well. People come on this show, on this channel, and we all say to the Arsenal fans, we say it to you, we say it to Igal, we say it to every Arsenal fan on here. At what point is enough enough? And at what point are you going to demand that success from your manager, i.e. Arteta, before you give him the chop? And the same question now needs to start going to Chelsea, but higher up. At what point do these Chelsea fans, and I know it's not all of them, start saying enough is enough? And I know some of them are already saying that, but not everyone is. You spent over £1 billion. Yeah, you're struggling. You're not even. I think they struggle. They got Europa League or whatever. Maybe got Conference League. They're not even getting Champions League. But over £1 billion. And I ask you a serious question, yeah. And this would be interesting to hear from Terry as well, because he's probably got the worst team out of three of us. How many of those Chelsea players, realistically, now serious, bro, for real? How many of those Chelsea players, seriously, yeah, would you take at your team? I might take maybe one or two. I don't even know off the top of my head. Dan, maybe Terry a few more. They spent over £1 billion, and I'm not even sitting here. I want him.
If I'm being honest with you, are we talking the whole squad or just the travelling squad for this tour?
Nah, I mean whatever. Like
we'll do the whole squad. Caicedo, I would take at Man United with what we've got right now. Definitely would. And I'm looking at their squad now in front of me. Carl Palmer, yes. I take Carl Palmer, of course. Forgot about him.
That it?
Levi Colwell, maybe. Really good prospect. And I'm being honest. Again, and I'm not saying their players are poor, but I'm still looking at it from a perspective of how much are you improving? I look at the players we're linked to this summer, which we'll get onto later. And I think about that we haven't even signed yet. I think about Ivan Toney, Zubimendi, Frimpong. Actually, I'll tell you who I would take. Actually, Gusto. I think Gusto's a good player at right back. Yeah. Having said that, I wouldn't start Gusto over Delo, but I'd take him in my squad, right? And that's not me saying Gusto's poor. So there's 3 or 4, maybe 5 for Man United. And we've got a squad that needs an overhaul. For you two, whose squads are at title contending level, there can't be many.
That's what I'm saying.
Caicedo and Palmer, 100%. Other than that, I'm kind of struggling. I like Reece James, but he's made of glass. Gusto's not better than Ben White, but he is a good player. I wouldn't take any of their centre-halves. You could probably vouch at Arsenal for Cucurella and maybe at City because obviously he's doing well at the moment. He's a proper left-back. But I wouldn't say he's outstanding, like one of the best around, but he's okay. But yeah, I'm struggling, man.
So that's the point that I'm making, bro. How is that a real thing? How have they spent over £1 billion? Yeah, close to 1.5 billion. And the three of us here collectively are looking at maybe 4 players max out of their team that we take us. That is absolutely wild. And this is why I said Chelsea under this owner, it's the biggest waste of money we've ever seen in football, ever. Facts.
It's crazy. I mean, when I'm looking at this squad as well, like I understand that you've still got Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Palmer. I assume Gallagher's on holiday because obviously he was at the Euros, but they want to kind of sell him, so I'm taking him out anyway. They've got 4 or 5 players that you got to come into this squad that are not there. But it's when you start, and I often judge a team, and I think when you judge the best clubs, and Chelsea are in that category of best clubs, it isn't just the first 11. You have to judge what's there beneath the surface, what happens with a few injuries. That's where the concern is. And for all the Chelsea, I mean this genuinely, I haven't judged Chelsea yet this year. I'm not sort of sitting in the camp that's saying they can't be successful. I don't think they should just be written off. I don't believe they've lost their pull. But I do look at the thinness of this squad. I was only after Rory Jennings' tweet. I never thought about it. And I'm looking at it and thinking, if Palmer was to get a bad injury this season, where's the goals and creativity coming from, genuinely? If Caicedo was to get a bad injury this season, who's going to anchor and secure that midfield? You've got Lavia that might be able to do it. But I look at it and think it still feels pretty threadbare to me in that regard. And they need more signings. They need more of a core to come in, which I think is absolutely key to them. Actually, I think, is Tosin not even on this list yet? Tosin is on the list. Okay, so decent player in him. But I do look at Chelsea, and I am looking at their fans, and you've got this 50-50 split. Some that believe, like Don's gone on record as saying they're a top 4 team, almost guarantee. If they don't get many injuries to major players, he thinks they can compete for the title next season. Right down to Rory Jennings, that's absolutely screwing that this is the worst squad in 30 to 40 years. So, again, I don't think it's the worst squad in 30 to 40 years. I don't think they're challenging for the title, even if everybody stays fit. Like, I'm a bit more balanced on this. But 2 or 3 more experienced signings. And when I say experience, I don't mean 30-year-olds. I'm talking 23 to 26 years of age, been there, done there, worn the T-shirt, to add some real strength to this side, because this squad traveling shows you that 2 or 3 injuries to this team and you could be in trouble next year. Like, really and truly. And people say, well, what about United? Listen, I'm aware of how weak my squad is with a few injuries. Look what happened to us last year. We made 2 signings. We need 3, 4, maybe even 5 more this window, and we're looking at them. So at the end of the day, like, I'm not sitting here and acting as if my team's perfect, but we are just talking Chelsea.
Yeah, but you've also won 2 trophies in 2 years. So, like, yes, you're a mess, and that was your worst Premier League finish in Premier League history, but you also won a trophy. Just to think, if I look at the, just real quick, Pots here. Listen to this, yeah. 2021, right? Champions League final where Chelsea beat City 1-0, yeah. This is some of these players that they had there, yeah. They had Aspilicueta, Thiago Silva, Rudiger, Jorginho, Kante. On the bench, they had Olivier Giroud. They still had Kovacic there as well. Who else did they have there? That's pretty much it. Oh, Christiansen, who's obviously left now and gone elsewhere.
King Kai, don't forget him.
They've literally had a Champions League winning team. It's not the best team in the world, but they've literally tore it apart and made it worse, like, by spending a 1.5 billion. It's insane, man. And like, literally, this is the thing, right? You know what's hilarious about this as well? I always see people in the chat and that say, yeah, oh yeah, you guys love hating on Chelsea. You do it all the time, bro. Like, for me, I don't have no beef with Chelsea. Like, I'm just speaking the facts. If you're a Chelsea fan and you believe that this process is the right process, then good on you. Wish you luck. You know what I mean? Literally, I don't lose sleep over it. Yeah. All I'm saying is wake up and smell the coffee. In 2021, you won the Champions League. They've took that. They spent over £1 billion. Yeah, and you've not been in the Champions League since. So for me, I just think that you really guys should, like, you think we're the haters. Maybe you hate your own club in it because that's where you want to be, man.
Do you know what's really interesting for me as well? Like, I've defended Chelsea a lot of things this summer, and I stand by it. There's another player who's currently in the squad that I'd take in our squad, actually, Tosin, who's there. I would. So he's another one. So I said 4 or 5 of their players I would take. But my squad isn't anywhere near where I want it to be. You're in a different situation. What I would say is exactly what I said a few weeks ago. The club has got to stop bigging up all these youngsters they sign, like Amari Kellerman. The way they reported that to the media and the journalists that were talking about it and the quality of the player and the money and the plan, for him to not be on this tour is almost embarrassing. You didn't need to big it up. We all know why you've signed this Kellerman guy. It's within the rules, it's within the regulations. But the fact that there were so many of the clubs facing PSR issues, all trading players, we kind of knew why he did what you did. But they still gave it this fanfare, like, yeah, this is our guy. This is the guy that's going to transform Chelsea. Stop doing it. All of our clubs sign young players from other Premier League clubs, but there's very rarely a fanfare. Like Man United are linked to this guy at the minute that's joining from Arsenal's academy. I think he's announced today. I hate the fact it's being reported on by the Ornsteins and the Fabrizios. Why are we putting all this pressure on this kid? I'm not saying it's coming from Man United because I don't think it necessarily is. It doesn't read like a Man United report. But why? It's not like this young Obi Martins. It isn't like he's some young starlet that the whole world wants to sign. He's a good footballer, probably. But there's certain times where you don't need to hype a youngster. And Chelsea kind of do that to themselves. Look, they need a few more good signings this summer. One player they are linked to today, I'm going to put this up on the screen for the haters that think I make these things up out of nowhere. It's Arsenal lead the race for Mikel Merino, despite Chelsea's interest. There are reports that are now starting to transpire that Chelsea want to hijack the move for Mikel Merino to stop him from joining Arsenal and for Chelsea to sign him. Good quality player, almost you would argue exactly what Chelsea needs, age and experience profile. But can you see, Potsy, Chelsea taking him away from you this time?
Mate, I think we should just go and sign Rick Williams. Does anyone know who he is? No, I don't either, but Todd Bowley will want him if I say it loud enough. Because he has no idea how to scout players. He just goes on what Liverpool want, what Man City are after, what Man United are after, and what Arsenal are over. It's crazy, isn't it? We link with Mikel Merino, and they're like, "Oh, who's that? Yeah, go on. Any good? Yeah, go on then. We'll say we want him as well then, seeing as everyone else wants him." It's what it seems like with Chelsea sometimes. Very bizarre how they go about things. They'll probably chuck a load of money at it, like they did with Mudryk, overpay by about 50 million, and potentially get him. But from what I hear, Mikel Merino is more interested in Barcelona and Arsenal if those two clubs are interested. So I think as long as those two clubs want him, they'll get him ahead of Chelsea. If the clubs don't want him, then Chelsea will get him. If he wants to leave, he definitely wants to leave Sociedad. If he wants to go to England and fancies a top 6 fight at Chelsea, then go for it. But I feel like he will probably want to go and try and win the league and La Liga with Barcelona, or try and go for a title with Arsenal. So I expect that will probably be more likely. I think it's quite an easy deal for us to get done if we want to. He's around £20 million. Mikel Arteta is really interested in him from what the reports are suggesting. But one thing on Chelsea I wanted to mention quickly. I agree with you, Tel, that they do big up some of their youngsters. Oh, have you ever seen this kid play on YouTube? He looks unreal. This Paez is the next one, isn't he? The next Ecuadorian centre midfielder. Looks like he's going to be next level or whatever. He's about 15, I think. And then you've got this Mark Gui that everyone's talking about. Barcelona, he come on once and scored a goal. He's going to be the next best thing. Like, just don't put pressure on him. As for Chido Obi Martin, I agree with you, Terry. I think he's going to be a highly rated player. And if Arsenal if Man United get him, it probably would be a little bit of a sour taste left in my mouth because he's been absolutely killing it in the unders for us. But Chelsea, what LB was saying was spot on. And the reason I was going to come in right was when LB was saying, look, in the chat, people hate the fact we're trying to cook on Chelsea and we're trying to be the haters of Chelsea. When someone's reply is, well, what a Man City signing? But what have Arsenal won? Look at the state of Man United. You know you've kind of got a good argument there because they can't fight back with their own opinion on why they think it's going to work. So they try to just slate your club. So, like we got here, Dan, stop hating. I'm just speaking facts. I couldn't give a damn about Chelsea. I hope it continues. I hope what you're doing right now continues for the next 20 years, bro, at least. I hope it does. But if I was a Chelsea fan, I would not be happy. I'd be rioting on that pitch. I'd be taking everybody that agrees with me, and I'll be trying to get that ownership out because it has been a shambles. It is a case study of how not to run a football club. Spending £1 billion more, and look at the mess that you've got. And people think Rory's going to be putting out that for likes, tweets, clicks. Rory doesn't need likes, tweets, or clicks, right? Rory does not need that. Rory gets enough of that. Rory's actually talking facts, in my opinion. I think everything he said there, don't look at that squad and go, God, Chelsea, look how much they've improved. Wow. They just haven't. And if they want to go to that next level, go and buy Osimhen. Go and get in a Pedro Neto. Go and get in somebody in midfield that can take you. Even Mikel Merino would be actually quite a good signing at 28 with some experience who's just won the Euros. Go and take your team to the next level. Don't go and buy the next 19-year-old who's supposed to be Neymar in 15 years. Like, come on,
yeah, but
man.
This was the plan, though, innit, Potsy? Their plan, was to buy all these youngsters. And because that's what everyone's been saying. Yeah, but in 2 to 3 years, all these players will have the experience and then we'll be cooking. So first of all, okay, so let's just assume that you're right. So effectively what you're saying is for 2 to 3 years, your club is basically just dead because you're telling me that you're not existing for 2 to 3 years because that's when all your players are going to start playing good, right? So for 2 to 3 years, your club basically don't exist. Then in 2 to 3 years, You've actually got to hope that the players develop in the way that you think. And I said this from time. Football doesn't work like that, man. Not every youngster will grow and get better and better and better. We've all had players at our football club where they come through 18, 19 years old, they play a couple of games and they're absolutely mint. And everyone, we've all done it, said this guy is going to be the future of our football club. And then the season after, they're crap. And they don't get better and they get worse. And I go, oh, actually, he's not that good, is he? He just might have just had a couple good games and that. Football does not work where every young player gets better. It's not FIFA, man. You know what I mean? They don't all get better. So a lot of the players that Chelsea have bought will end up being rubbish. And then the ones that are good, are they going to want to stay there if they're not competing for the Premier League, if they're not competing for Champions League? I mean, come on, man. You know, they've got a manager who's managed Leicester in the Championship. And yeah, he done a good job on that. Like, if these players are as good as people think they are, they're going to want to move on to better clubs who are actually, you know, going for stuff. This is why I've said it. The strategy was wrong. I got no problem with them buying some of these young players, but they should have mixed them with more experienced winners. So you've got a blend. Yeah? You can't just buy a load of 19-year-olds and go, don't worry, lads, in 3-4 years, we'll be the best team in the world because we've got all the best players. Don't work like that. Never has, never will.
That bit I agree with. Where I would say is they should be looking at players like Merino. I like the Tosin deal. I like the Dewsbury Hall deal. When it comes to attackers, I can't believe they haven't bought a striker. I see him linked to like Samuel Amarodian and Duran. I think why? And then you see links to like Ivan Toney, and I think exactly. You throw Ivan Toney, Merino, Dewsbury Hall, Tosin into this team. They'll be better than they were last year, in my opinion. They'll be more consistent because they've got that experience. But it's all these youngsters they're signing. I think they're part of the plan, but they can't rely on them. They absolutely can't. No. It's about getting that balance absolutely right. This idea of they're all going to develop and flourish at the same time. Show me where that's ever happened without a solid core group. So I think there's talk, and I saw that Simon Phillips shared it today, that Chelsea are going to try and sign 2 to 3 more players in this month. They have to be players that are early to late mid-20s. That's where they need to be. So yeah, maybe they're copying Arsenal's homework here. I don't think it matters. They need players like this Moreno. They need to go and get someone of that level to come into that midfield, especially as the future of Enzo Fernandez does look up in the air right now. And I know that some people think it will all be brushed under the carpet and it'll all be okay. I don't necessarily think it will be. You've seen the reaction of some of his Chelsea teammates. There's investigations going on. The club may have to... It's not even about the club taking action against what he did. It's the club taking action because of how the dressing room now feels against him. They've got that situation to look at as an example. But I think they do need to add more experience into their 24, not 25. I said early to late mid-20s. So that means 23 to like 28. In my opinion, that's kind of what I meant. In that bracket, that is what they need. 110% Chelsea to, and then I do believe they can make the top 4. There was a comment that came in there to challenge us. It says from Matt that says, if Chelsea are so bad, why are they the 4th favourite for the top 4?
The 4th favourite. What?
I mean, does that mean 4th favourite to win the league? Because that would be that same thing, right? They can't.
If they're the 4th favourite top 4, that means they come in 8th. Then is that what they're saying?
And if they're favourites to come 4th, that means they're 4th favourites to win the league. This is Premier League winner odds. Let's take a little look. We'll do it by the winner odds because there's no odds for top 4. It's based on the winner odds, isn't it? Really, and then you work it down. So where are Chelsea ranking in terms of winning the league? They are 4 favourites to win the league according to the bookmakers.
That's just stupid, though, isn't it? Because like, look at the state of why are Aston Villa 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 favourite to get top 4? That's just ridiculous. So if you want to go off odds, then be my guest. You know what I mean? I'll go off of what I see with my eyes. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, what I'm looking at right now is not good. You know, you've got issues with Enzo. Yeah, which obviously Terry just mentioned. What's going to go on with that? Mess. You've got the whole Chalobah situation. Mess. You've got the Conor Gallagher situation. Mess. Who's going to be putting the ball in the back of the net as a striker? Yeah. What's going on with the goalkeeper situation? So, you know, we've got that's just five things off the top of my head. And I've not even been online for the last couple of days, man. I'm chilling in it. So there's probably other stuff going on there as well. And you're trying to tell me that because the bookies say the 4 favourite. Remember, the bookies go off what people put in money on. Do you know what I mean? So if loads of people are slamming money on Chelsea to get top 4, then the odds will short, and that's the way it works. They don't just decide that, oh, we think that. That's not how it works. It goes where they shorten where the money goes. So, you know, for me, I just look at it and think, listen, they've got players that if they all turn up on the day, yeah, and they turn up for a season, they could potentially get top 4. But it's a big ask because these players, they don't turn up. Some of them, you know, got injury prone. We have no idea what's going to happen with the manager. And this manager's just come from the Championship. Do you know what I mean? Like Newcastle, by the way, yeah, they're obviously now got a team back. Last year, they had an injury-ridden team. Aston Villa are mint, like mad disrespecting in my opinion. So listen, they can get top 4, yeah, if everything goes right. But do you have any faith that everything's going to go right for Chelsea based off the last 3 years? I just don't, man.
This year, Gunnar Carlos says Arsenal have been top 4 favourites since 2004. Facts checker says LB and Dan, if you believe you have what it takes to advise football clubs on managing their operations and deciding which players to buy and sell, consider pursuing a career within the football club.
I guarantee you now 100 million%, if I would have been given £1.5 billion to spend after Chelsea won the Champions League in 2021, they would have been in the top 4 last year. 100 million, because you know what I would have done? I would have bought all these bozos for like 80 million quid who no one even know. I would have bought proven winners, and I would have kept managers, yeah, who actually know how to win stuff. I wouldn't have got Graham Potter, yeah. I wouldn't have got who else they got? How many managers they had since this guy come in? I can't even remember the managers. What managers they had?
Poch, Lampard.
Yeah, I told you the guy's a fraud. Yeah, I told you he's a fraud. I wouldn't have got him. I wouldn't have got Graham Potter.
Lampard came back. Lampard came back.
I wouldn't have got Maresca. So yeah, man, you know what I mean? You can put that comment out there and pretend like what we're saying is crazy and that we're just being like mad arrogant. But at the end of the day, I would have had Chelsea as an owner with 1.5 bill in the top 4, easy. Not even. I know. I would have done that, bro. I know it sounds mad, yeah.
Do you know what this reminds me of? This comment. I don't know if you boys used to watch it because it was horrendously cringeworthy when it first came out. But the X Factor with Simon Cowell, when somebody would come onto the stage and go, and they go, "You're not very good," he go, "Like, so you try." That was how they did. That was their actual reply. It wasn't actually, "I'm not very good." It was, "Like to see you do better." That's what Facts Checker is doing here. He knows that we've got a point. He doesn't want to try and stick up for himself, so he just goes, "Well, let's see if LB and Dan Potts can run Chelsea." Then, do you know what? Unlike LB, I would not want to do it. Do you know why? Don't appoint me because I ain't got a clue how to run a football club. That's why I don't do it. Yeah, but I'll probably do as bad as Todd Bodie's doing right now. That's what I probably do.
You would have done much worse, bro. Put it that way. I mean, I think it would have actually been a challenge. Genuinely, right? If you took that 2021 Champions League team and I gave you £1.5 billion, yeah, and said, "Dan, I want you to get this team that's just won the Champions League to finish 8th." And you've got and you have to spend 1.5 bill and you need to finish. Bro, I don't know. I actually genuinely don't know if you would have been able to do it that bad.
That's like one of them football challenges where if you get the ball squared, even if you're in the middle of Wembley, well, not in the middle of Wembley, you're in Wembley Stadium, you're 3 yards from goal, the ball gets squared to you, the goal's open net. I still think in front of 80,000 people, it's still harder to miss than it is to score. And that is what Chelsea have done in actuality. To be a Champions League winning team.
They come 12th, not 8th, by the way, LB, just to let you know.
Yes, no.
You're thinking of Arsenal coming 8th. Yeah. Thinking of Arsenal. Wesley here having a pop at me, I think. He says, "Terry, you're acting like United off the signings are now peak Madrid. Should we expect a title? I mean, we haven't even mentioned Man United. All I've stated is that if I was looking to improve Man United, you got to remember this. So when it comes to talking about Chelsea squad, we're talking with knowledge. So when it comes to new signings, we have a certain amount of knowledge about them. But I know who has and hasn't worked at Chelsea. So I've said to improve Man United now, I'd take 4 or 5 of their players. That's still quite a lot. There's lots of them I wouldn't take. But at what point, Wesley, did I say Man United are as good as Real Madrid? Where have I even suggested that, my friend? I haven't spoke about Man United with any detail at all. That's just a weird deflection, in my opinion, bro. It really is. But Lenny Yoro and Xerxes say hi. The fact that clubs like Spurs, Newcastle, West Ham, and even United under the Glazers have had better transfer windows than Chelsea in the last 2 years speaks volumes.
Wow. I mean, look, some of that is fairly true. Some of that perhaps is debatable. I think some of the players Chelsea have bought in have been good. We discussed the ones that we think have been fair, but there's been a lot of very meaty players. I mean, you mentioned Enzo. That could go down as quite an embarrassing one, couldn't it? £115 million. He's not really cooked yet. He's failed to really impress. And now he's got all of this off the field politics going on, which does not look very good for him. And, he's just one, along with Mudryk, that you look at and think, how much did they spend on these players? Absolutely madness. And I know Manchester United and even Arsenal have done it over the years. But when we have done it, and I think you'd agree with this, Terry, we've held our hands up as a fan base and gone, that was poor. Like Pepe for 72 million and Mustafi for 38 million or whatever it was. And you've done it with Anthony now and Maguire, 80 million. But you and I would sit there and go, cool, they were bad signings, weren't they? Some of the Chelsea fans, when you question that it might be a bad signing, like Mudryk, well, he's better than Martinelli. One, I don't think he is. And two, is a hell of a lot more. Martinelli was 6 million. 6. Mudryk was 66 million, wasn't he?
Do you know what it is? We all do it. Like, I would like nothing more this season for Anthony to turn into a world-class player. Because it'd be beautiful. I would love for Sancho to stay and deliver. But if I'm being really honest, and I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. If I'm being really honest, in my heart of hearts, I kind of know they're never going to make it at my club. So I just want them moved on. And we've brought Barada into Man United. And one of the reasons I'm really happy about this was listening to him speak while he was at City. And what he said at City is that City have a policy where a player gets a maximum 2 years. In fact, anybody at the club gets a maximum 2 years to start producing and yielding a return, no matter what they do, or they're basically gone. And I sat there and thought the amount of times my club in the last decade has continued to try and flog a dead donkey when we know they're not good enough. And because you love your club and you've got this emotional connection to it, which is there, this might be the year. The amount of pre-seasons I've watched Scott McTominay and gone, maybe he'll get better this year. Man's about 28 now. He ain't getting better. And you have to move on from these people quickly. And both those players you've mentioned for Chelsea are getting close towards 2 years at the club. Where I would defend the two players, though, is that there has been absolute, and again, I recognize this within Chelsea because my club has been through it. The lack of stability at the football club also plays a big part. And it's really interesting listening to Ten Hag talk at the moment with a smile on his face saying they've taken a lot of responsibilities away, a lot of my role has changed, but he looks happy about it. You see it visibly on his face. I think he's realized I couldn't do what I was doing before. Now what I'm really here to do is coach. Now I hope it pays dividends. If it doesn't, you move him on, it happens. But he has already said that they're trying to bring in stability. They're streamlining things. The atmosphere, the culture feels better already. A long way to go, but we're looking to bring in those improvements. And that, for me, is what's also not helped Chelsea, has been the inconsistencies at board level, the chopping and the changing. And we know their plan has changed, whether they want to admit to it or not. Because when they gave Potts the deal, it was, it's a short-term deal because that's the way we're going to be giving managers. You prove yourself, then you become the manager. They get rid of him and Baretta comes in on a 5-year deal. So whatever happened, you've changed your plan of action again because you've gone for a different type of manager and a new approach. And that is where I'll defend some of the players. That area of Chelsea has been an absolute mess as well. And, as you said earlier, I hope for their sake they kind of get it right. I don't like seeing clubs misrun, mistreated and falling apart, whether they've got money or not. But at the same time, I think the fans have got to wake up and smell the coffee with some of these players. They really, really do. This here says, next time someone says Arsenal have the worst fan base, remember Chelsea fans since Bowley took over.
Do you know what? That is such a good point because I've been unpopular with my own fan base for saying how deluded some of us are and the section is so toxic and all this until Chelsea have taken over. I mean, Chelsea have just shouted out, hold my beer, because they are the most sensitive. We've got one in the chat earlier here saying that Mudryk has been a better signing than Havertz has for Arsenal. Like, what is happening here? This is embarrassing, isn't it, really? Really is.
Say that again?
What bit?
The end bit about who's better? So I just read, I got sent a message and I had to check it as you said it. And I think I heard
someone in the chat said, that Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez and Havertz have been worse signings than Mudryk. I don't know how, but he's obviously Chelsea. Very, very worried.
Fuck off. Sorry, let me fuck off. Come on now. Mykhailo Mudryk, for the money he costs, has been one of the worst signings. I would actually argue that he's been a worse signing than Anthony. At least Anthony's been part of a Man United team that's won 2 trophies. At the very and he scored and he scored goals in the run-ins. He's been awful, Anthony. He's been a flop. But he scored goals in the run-ins and in the run to win trophies. Factually right or wrong? It's right.
They're both awful.
No, I know they are, but I'm just saying to say that Mudryk's been better than those other guys. I'm like, bruv, he's worse than Anthony, and Anthony's been awful. Come on now, this. I mean, what his best moment was a fluky cross that went in. That's the crazy bit. His best moment in the Chelsea shirt is when he fluked a goal by a mishit cross. All the other players, at least, have had moments. To get where I'm coming from, I wouldn't say any of them, maybe Kai Havertz, have been amazing signings. But come on, bro. You can't believe that.
I don't even think Kai Havertz has been an amazing signing. I've got the comment here, Royal Obsidian. It literally has glanced over. I saw so many in the chat, you can't keep up. It says, Anthony, Diaz, Nunez, Havertz. Shut the F up, Dan. Mudryk is better than all of them.
It says here, like, Anthony prop. Again, that's not prop. That isn't prop. I said he was bad. But he's still better than the guy you've mentioned. What you've said makes no sense. Crazy comment. Chelsea are like the kid in a candy store who wants everything but can't handle crap. There's so many players much suited than what they've bought, but better suited than what they bought. Strasbourg Steve's here. Hope you're well, brother. He says, speaking of transfers going potentially wrong, do you guys think Sandro Tonali will have a good season? His ban is over after the 3rd EPL game. It's gone quick, isn't it? He's back already.
I actually think Newcastle can have a good season. I really do. Out of Europe, 1 game a week. People have forgotten the players that are coming back from their injuries. Sven Botman being one of them. Joe Linton being another one. Tonali coming back from his ban. Keeping Isak and Bruno Guimaraes, it seems. Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon. They've got an all right first 11, man. And although they want to build a squad, and I'm sure they will get more signings through the door, with 1 game a week now that Newcastle have got without European football, I think they've got a great chance of having another very good season and pushing for Champions League football.
Top 4, bro, has to.
I think so, yeah.
Has to be the aim.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of. I think Mark Goldbridge tweeted this the other day, and I know it will trigger Standard FC, but he said the top 4 race is going to be interesting this year, and I actually agree because I do think Chelsea could be in it. To be fair, but you've obviously got Liverpool, which we're going to get onto in a minute. Newcastle, Man United, Tottenham, Villa. There's a lot of teams that you can make an argument for making it into the Champions League positions next year. So it's going to be an interesting race indeed. This here says, are we just going to act like Chelsea's young players aren't going to improve with 1 extra year of experience for a lot of this Chelsea team? Naive.
Nah, bro, that's wrong. That's a wrong, bro, comment. I appreciate the donation and that, bro. But from my view, yeah, like, not all of the players are going to improve. This is the point, yeah? They're not all going to improve. Some will get worse. Some will get worse, or some will just stay the same. Some will get injured. Like, it's not everyone just gets better. If that was the case, yeah? If that was the case, why haven't the greatest managers of all time just always bought 19-year-olds? Because in your like world, the way that you view football, they all get better and better. So if you all just buy the best 19-year-olds going, then you chill, you're set for 10 years. They know because Fergie knew, Pep knew, yeah, Jose Mourinho knew, Ancelotti knows you can't just buy all 19-year-olds and then just go, don't worry, in 2-3 years we will be there. It doesn't work like that, man. No doubt about it, yeah. Some of the players that they've bought next year will get better. 100%, not disputing that. But not all of them will. Some will get worse.
And you'll even find the ones that did really well. So Cole Palmer's a great example. I think he's excellent. But there is a genuine chance that this forthcoming season he doesn't score or create as many goals. Because he's young and it doesn't mean he won't score or create, but he might not get as many, which means you need other people to improve. Young players are inconsistent by nature, and you're spot on. What Edward here is talking about is the cheat code of Football Manager. You just Google and find out who the Wonder Kids are, and then you buy them all when you start the game at 15, 16, 17, and then they develop into this brilliant squad. But that's because it's a computer game. In reality, it never works that way. And do you know how you know this? Just go back and Google and start from, say, 2014 and go 2014 Wonder Kids, 2015 Wonder Kids, and see the names on the list. Some you'll go, oh, look at the career he had. And the amount of them you'll go, oh, I remember him. And they're currently now playing in the 3rd tier in Israel. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why. I just that, you know, or Belgium or Holland. This always happens. Make sure you hit the like and the share button, people. Make sure you're subscribing. Man, like Giuseppe's here. I says big up Terry, Dan, and LB every time. Make sure you smash the like button, of course. By the way, you all know that Sicilian Gooner Giuseppe is also the guy that's been trending in there's a kid in the Arsenal suit that Arsenal fans thought was Calafiori, right? It's him. He posted a picture of himself on the internet in an Arsenal kit, like, hey, it's me. And all these big Arsenal accounts started saying it was Calafiori. It went everywhere. It went trending everywhere.
That's embarrassing.
And he messaged me, goes, tell everyone thinks it's Calafiori, but it's me. I was dying. Like, I see it in newspapers. Mate,
that's a massive compliment, because there's a lot of people saying he's now like the best looking person in football and all this. Like, literally,
unfortunately for Giuseppe has not flourished with looks as he's got older. Okay. Sorry, Giuseppe, but not like Calafiori anyway. Like, Calafiori is a stunning looking man. Giuseppe, he looks actually reminds me of my uncle. He looks like my Uncle Roy. He does. We'll go big up Roy if you're watching. I wanted to ask you boys about Liverpool before we move on to touch on Arsenal a little bit, because I feel a bit worried for them. And now, as a Man United fan, I'm not. As a Man United fan, I'm licking my lips at the prospect of it going wrong for them. But they haven't signed anybody yet. And whenever I sort of check into all their main journalists and the people that put their stories out, I read one last night. It wasn't James Pearce, it was somebody else, but he's very close to Liverpool. He just said Liverpool fans don't expect any new signings in the next couple of weeks. And I'm thinking, what's going on? Everybody needs new signings every year. The best teams in the world, the worst teams in the world. They've got a new manager. They need to bolster that attack. They need some new defenders. But nothing's happened. And we are getting close to being 3 weeks away from a ball being kicked. And I want to just paint the picture here, because Pep himself said this a few days ago. We've got to start the season this year on point. I'm paraphrasing slightly, because he knows how hard it is going to be even for them to win the league. Liverpool can't afford to start the season flat-footed or not with a full squad. Why are they not buying anybody, boys? What's your thoughts on this?
Go on, LB.
No, I'll go. Listen, I just think that this is. I had a feeling like Liverpool's weird, yeah, and this is why I said for me they ain't going to be nowhere near the Premier League title, mate. They're in a top 4 battle. Yeah, they're in a top 4 battle 100%. Wouldn't surprise me if they finished outside the top 4. You know, first of all, they get Arne Slot. Like, let's be honest, obviously it's a complete 50-50 the way that's going to go. And their owners just ain't serious, man. Like, they just ain't, they're not asked about winning. They're just not, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't for Klopp and Salah and maybe Mane to a degree, they wouldn't have won nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they're doing, because I agree, they need so much work. That team needs a lot of reinvestment. You know, have they sorted out any contract signing? Have they got the contract sorted? Because Trent's out of contract next year. Yeah, oh, don't worry, he won't leave because he's Scouse. What? Wait, what are you talking about, bro? Like, you need to get him re-signed. What's going on with Van Dijk? Is he going to sign a new deal? Salah, what's happening there? You're still not told me what's going on with Darwin Núñez. Like, what you're going to do with him, because he's a crap striker. Yeah, he's not a striker, that guy. So I think there's a lot of work to do, man. And this whole thing, yeah, of, you know what's funny? I always find, like, you got to read between the lines, man. When someone, like, you get some news come out and says, oh, Arne Slot just wants to assess the Liverpool team before he makes any signings. You're telling me he doesn't know about these players, bro? You're telling me that he's not watched Liverpool last year in the Premier League or in Europe or whatever? Like, he just never watched Liverpool. And then when he found out he was getting the job again, he just never watched any Liverpool matches to see what the players were like. He just turned up out of the blue and gone, oh, what's your name? Oh, I'm called Mohamed, bro. Mohamed Salah, one of the greatest players. Oh, I didn't know who he was. I'm really sorry, bro. Like, honestly, you can't con me, mate. Like, something's not going on there that should be happening. Yeah, I think he's being told that there's not a lot of money going round, because I do not believe for 1 second, yeah, that this Arne Slot guy is going in there to try and find out what everyone's like. Nah, no way. No way. The owners ain't giving him the money. They'll probably make one signing towards the end of the summer or something like that, and they'll struggle to get into top 4. And they've got to hope and pray that Mohamed Salah does what he does all the time and gets them out of trouble. But ultimately, for me, I think he's been told that he ain't getting the money. And by the way, yeah, not just me saying this. It's not just me saying it. I remember when he was given the job, Arne Slot, and there was a lot of big Liverpool fans out there, not me, Liverpool fans, saying that the reason that they've gone for Slot is because they're not going to give him any money, and he's basically a yes man. So it's not just coming from me, it's coming from them. So the proof will be in the pudding. Still a lot of time left in the transfer window. But if I was a Liverpool fan, man, I'd be worried about what's going on at the football club. It's mad.
The way I see it.
This is just, no, come on, Trev, man. Come on, bro. This ain't true, man. This ain't true. You're telling me that you can't assess a football player's ability. If Arne Slot wants to play attacking football, you can't tell me that you can't rule out certain players. Like, come on, man. Like, Calvin Phillips, I know this guy ain't good enough for City. I've ever seen him play for City in the flesh. No, I can tell just by watching him. Darwin Núñez can't kick a ball straight, mate. Like, I know he's not going to be good for City. I know certain players are not going to be good for my team because they're not technically good enough. And by the way, and this is another thing, yeah. If Arne Slot is such a good manager, he can see just how good Liverpool players are by watching him on the TV, mate. And you can get all different angles because he wouldn't just get the TV angle like we get, like us boys get. He can go to Liverpool and say, "Give me the wide angle so I can see the full pitch." Yeah. So this isn't true, mate. This isn't true. He doesn't. It's this. Honestly, it's a con. You're being conned, man.
I mean, look, I'll go on. Yeah, go on.
So read that one, LB. Read that one, LB.
What? Wait a sec. What's this say? We have players coming back from loans, LB. He has not seen most of these players play. All right, let's have a look at the loan players then. Can I do that? Can I have a look at the loan players?
Knock yourself out.
All right, Liverpool Football Club, transfers, arrivals. Here we go. Loan returns. Right, let's have a look who's coming back from loan. Calvin Ramsey from Wigan. And Bobby Clark, as I thought he was already there. So Calvin Ramsey, apparently here. This is not me. This is transfer marked. It says Calvin Ramsey is the only player here, according to this, that was loaned out.
Carvalho, isn't it? Fabio Carvalho, or is he gone now?
Carvalho might be coming back. What about Nate Phillips? Nate Phillips might be coming back.
Yeah, all right. Maybe, I mean, listen, some people don't like Canate, so maybe Nat Phillips is getting a remontada situation. Who else here? Who else is on here, man? Reece Williams went to Aberdeen last year. Did he tear up trees? Maybe Reece Williams, mate.
Oh.
Sepp Vanderberg went to Mainz on loan.
Oh, the old Ginger. The old Ginger's back.
What's mad? Look, I agree. I actually agree with a lot of what LB said. The one thing I suppose I'm not disagreeing with, but might look at things a bit differently is Liverpool's still got a good side, man. And Liverpool, I don't know if they've now got a good manager, but they've got a manager that can play attractive football with Feyenoord. Now, we've seen Ten Hag play attractive football with Ajax, right? I suppose the difference is here. My fingers are pointing towards the ownership and the board about how serious they want to be with Liverpool. Because if you were allowing the players at your club to run contracts down with 1 year left, like Trent, that is bad management. Somebody there needs to be sacked for that. That is ridiculous. The only job you have is to keep your best players. And you have to get to a scenario which might not be nice for some, but where Manchester City, likewise with KDB, I suppose they've got it, but it's a bit different with KDB because he's 33. But with Trent Alexander-Arnold being 24, 25 years old, won everything in football, generational talent, one of their best players, probably to most Liverpool fans, the next captain. He has been given 1 year left on his deal. That is a shambles. Alisson, best goalkeeper in the world in a similar position. Van Dijk and Salah's future up in the air. How can all these players be coming to an end of a generation just like Klopp? And it's as if they're said, with Klopp goes, we might as well get rid of all of them and start again. That's what it looks like at the moment. It's like all these Liverpool fans just waiting to get these players gone. It's like you need to be looking at that and going, do you know what? Something's gone wrong upstairs there, big time. Now, on Slot, I don't know enough about him to know whether he'd be good at Liverpool. But if I'm a Liverpool fan and as a fan base, I'm demanding a title race. Because you were in one pretty much last season until the last few games. And with additions, you should be in one again. because they clearly need a defensive midfielder. They clearly need a centre half. They clearly need, in my opinion, a proper number 9 that isn't one that get injured like Jota every single game. And all of a sudden, you're starting to look at Liverpool going, okay, they've got a striker now. They've still got Salah who's guaranteed goals. They've got Jota who can come in from the left, as well as Diaz or Nunez. They've got a midfield now who somebody like is a proper Declan Rice type number 6 that can complement the likes of Alexis McAllister. They've got a centre-half pairing that is definitely going to be able to complement and play instead of Van Dijk. They've still got 2 of the best fullbacks in the league, and they've also the best goalkeeper in the league. So they should be the team good enough to go for a title challenge. The reason I'm with LB a little bit more is because we don't know what the manager's going to be like, and we don't know what they're going to be buying. Now, I'm a Liverpool fan. I'll be thinking, if I've got a new manager in, surely they could be one of the most proactive this window, because this is a new guy coming in with ideas. Going, I want this player. I want to bring this player over from Feyenoord that I know. I think this would be a fantastic option for me to allow this style of play to be implemented. But we've seen like nothing. Now, don't get me wrong, Arsenal and City aren't exactly the busiest at the moment, but don't worry about Arsenal and City. As a Liverpool fan, worry about your club. Worry about Liverpool. Worry about how you know you're going to be in a title race. So I don't think it's crazy for LB to suggest that they might drop into the top 4 this season. I would have had them still third, in my opinion, right now, as things stand. I still think they will come third, and they're third best in the league because of the team, because of the players. But I don't know what they're doing as a club, man. They're moving mad, and the board letting them contracts run down. That's scary.
Sam here says the director of football said they aren't doing anything until August. That's not new. Well, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because when Edwards was at your club and you guys were flying, you got so much business done early and you were praised for it. And you were used, rightfully, by the way, as a stick to beat Man United with, because we took so long to get deals done. You cannot be, I just don't understand, unless it's money, why Edward would sit there, who now runs the club, and go, do you know what, guys? We want to bolster this team for the new manager. We want to keep up with City. We want to keep up with Arsenal and try and surpass them. And what our strategy is to wait until the season begins, until footballs are being kicked, when buying players becomes more expensive, then we're going to make a move. That doesn't ring true for Edwards, who is one of the best at his job in the world. That sounds to me like penny pinching that's going on, and it's no good. It's no good. Like Liverpool, the only level of success next season is title race or winning the league. Anything outside of that is abject failure, because you were in a title race this season. And I think that too many Liverpool fans are burying their heads in the sand when it comes to how poor. And again, maybe they won't fall out the top 4. My mind isn't made up on that yet. But they're not going to win the Premier League. They've added no one to their squad. No one has ever challenged for the Premier League, signed no one, and gone on to win it the next year. No one. So again, how are Liverpool going to buck that trend? It doesn't make sense to me. Signing no one. I mean, City haven't been overly busy, but they're going to, the Salvio's come in. They're going to sign 1 or 2 more, in my opinion. They're linked to Eze today. Again, I think Eze would be a phenomenal piece of business. They're keeping KDB, and they've been quite public about that. And I think that's an important part. But Liverpool's transfer window so far has been, for a new manager as well that's come in, it has been absolutely embarrassing by their standards. And I think their fans should be worried, frustrated, and certainly annoyed. Junior here says, I tell Liverpool fans as a United fan that you are where we were with Fergie before he left. A good manager now gone, masking incompetence of the people above. It could expose that. I mean, Liverpool have painted such a picture just with how well they're run. And I've praised them for it. But this will really expose it now. I mean, if you're right, Junior July, if you're right, then there's some really sad times ahead for Liverpool fans if what you say is true. But it's like they're not even linked to anyone. Like they pulled out of the Lenioro deal. And the reason they gave their media was, well, he's going Real Madrid to the point. And then Man United signed him, which proved that to be PR bollocks at the end of the day. But they've gone for nobody else. And you would argue maybe they need a DM, which they needed last season. But they need a replacement for Mo Salah. Maybe not even in his position, because he's going to go at some point. They need a new left back. There's so many positions they need to fill. And like when I say that, I know they keep things quiet, but they're linked to absolutely no one. And look, it's going to be a mad one to see.
This is why it would not surprise me if they finished outside the top 4, man.
It's a fair point. It is a very, very
like
fair point.
Like they've got so much work to do. I think the comment is I think is a fair comment in the sense that, you know, Fergie and Gill did mask a lot of the stuff that was going on above them with the owners, and Klopp obviously masked a lot of stuff that was going on. Now he's gone. There is going to be a drop off, just like there'll be a drop off when Pep Guardiola leaves Man City. You know what I mean? I'm not delusional. I know that's going to happen, but you know, if they don't get reinforcements in, and I think they need 3 or 4 players. I honestly think they need 3 or 4 players, good quality players, and they're not cheap and they're hard to come by these days. You know what I mean? Because as well, experience isn't always there. You know, it's another year Salah gets older. You know, Salah, honestly, man, like he's kind of like Saka in the sense that like they spam him out, and they have to spam him out because he's their greatest player. Some Liverpool fans might say he's the greatest ever player. You know, so they need to think about him. You're absolutely spot on. They need to take the word. He's not going to be able to play a game every 3 days. You know, just like Kevin De Bruyne can't play a game every 3 days. So they need cover for him. Is Darwin Núñez finally going to hit some consistent form? Van Dijk's another year older. There's going to be now loads of speculation on Trent Alexander-Arnold unless he signs a new deal quick. That's not going to help anyone. That's not going to help the new manager. So there's a lot to there's loads to go on there, man. There's loads that needs to be fixed at Liverpool, and the fact that they've not signed anyone yet for me is wild.
Oh, I hear you 100%. We have a question here from Tom. It says, "Who's finishing higher, United or Spurs?"
Probs United, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, it depends at the moment what the hell the transfer window is saying, because at the moment, you know, both teams, there's not much in it, in my opinion. If I had to put one now, I'd probably go with Manchester United because I believe they'll have the better of the window and be a little bit different this season. But Spurs could still have a really good window under Ange. They could have a good window. Players they're linked with, they could.
They certainly could. Right now, I'd go with Man United, but yeah, let's wait and see how the window ends before I do any Man United predictions. We spoke about them earlier on Arsenal. According to Simon Collins, when I was quite well respected in the Arsenal fan base, he said that Mikel Arteta confirms transfer intent and says that Arsenal are finalising a deal for Calafiori, and with Arsenal's interest in, obviously, we mentioned him already, Mikel Merino and the winger Nico Williams. We know that Barcelona are chasing both, but Sam Collins reporting that Arsenal are going to turn their attention to those two after completing the Calafiori deal. We know that Barcelona are kind of struggling to get these deals over the line because of money. They're trying to borrow money. They keep telling the players, look, we're going to get the money together. Please stick to us. PSG have now entered the race for Nico Williams as well. Although you may not get him, you should be making a move for Nico Williams. Surely you agree with that, Dan? Like even if he ends up picking Barcelona, you'd rather go for him than we've just seen it with Lenny Euro. Liverpool went, we're not going to bother because there's no way we're getting him, and Man United have pulled him. Would you rather go in for Nico Williams and miss out as opposed to just walk away now?
Well, listen, facts. I mean, his £49 million release clause, activate it and let the player decide. I mean, if Arteta really wants him, he's got to sell him the project, and it's got to be a more convincing project than Barcelona. That's what he's got to. That's his job. That's Arteta and Edu's job this summer, is to try and convince Nico Williams that he can come and win a title and trophies at Arsenal, right? When a player, however, who is Spanish, has got his heart set on Barcelona, I can't help but think that he is just waiting for them to say, "Do you want to come?" Mikel Merino, I'm sure it's very similar, but there is a lot more reports with that one that he's actually quite set on the move to Arsenal, and he's been quite convinced that Arsenal would be a good move in reports that I've seen today. So maybe that's got more legs, but that doesn't say that he doesn't look at Nico Williams, Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo being linked with Barcelona today as well, and think, well, listen, my Euros teammates are all going there. I'll follow him. So it could be that both these players are interested in Barcelona. That is the question mark here. That is the one thing that could stop this. The Calafiori one, I think, is going to get done. I've been saying that for about 3 weeks now, but I think it is going to get done. And if we were to get Merino, Williams, and Calafiori, that's a very, very good start to our window. Very good start, because Merino comes in as the backup 8, or potentially starts with Rice if Rice is in the 6. That's a good signing. Nico Williams definitely starts, in my opinion, ahead of Trossard, and then Trossard and Martinelli try and force their way back in. And then you've obviously got Calafiori, who I think will be our left back. All of a sudden, what you've got there, Terry, is sustainability on the left-hand side of Arsenal, which is nothing that we had last season. Because last season, if you remember, we had 3 different left backs, 3 different left 8s, and 3 different left wingers, and no number 9 that really played there every single game. So the whole of our left-hand side was a complete juggle, if I'm honest with you. The right-hand side of Arsenal, we all know it. Yeah, it's set. It's Saliba and Ben White, and it's Saka and Ødegaard. But when you look at the left-hand side, sometimes Rice was playing in the 8. Havertz started in the left 8. Fabio Vieira played there. Smith Rowe played there. On the left-hand side of our forward line, Trossard eventually played there, but Martinelli was playing there for a while. Jesus played on the left for a bit. Havertz got stuck out there. I think Saka played there for one game. And left back was even worse. I mean, we had Kivior playing there for some of it. Tomiyasu a couple of games. Timber started there. Zinchenko played there. So I think he's looked at these 3 positions and thinks, right, I want that left-hand side completely revamped. I know what my right-hand side is. I need to sort out the left. So I think we will definitely see those positions filled. Whether it will be Merino, Williams and Calafiori, I don't know if all 3 of them will come. But personally, I think that they are 3 good options that are definitely going to lift and improve on what Arsenal had last season. And if I was a Man City fan or Liverpool, if you believe you're in a title race, I would look at Arsenal and go, oh yeah, they're quite good signings. That's not what I wanted to see. You know, as a Man City, as Liverpool fan, I'm fighting with Arsenal. I'd want to see us go for players that are washed or particularly like potentially a huge risk. And I'm not so sure that Williams, Merino and Calafiori would be not risky players, but they're certainly going to come in and you'd think, wow, that's definitely going to improve on what they've got. So yeah, if this happens, Arsenal fans should be excited, but it is a big if because Barcelona may snap both of these players up.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the Williams one especially is a hard one to get done. But I've had so many gooners in my DMs. I'll tell you, why do you keep saying we should bid for him? We're probably not going to get him. We should look elsewhere. I don't get this logic, LB. I didn't think Man United would get Lenny Euro. Now, I understand Nico Williams is a much bigger profile at the minute because he's been around longer, he's achieved more. But I'd United fan going, so I'd rather us not focus on Lenny. We probably won't get him. What? Because a few idiots online might banter you if you get rejected. So what? At the end of the day, imagine Arsenal don't bid today. They don't bid today, don't bid at all. And Barca don't raise the money. And you've missed the opportunity. It doesn't make sense. Put the bid in, get it accepted, make a massive offer to the player based on what you think he's worth, and then give him a decision to make. I don't understand why anyone who isn't heavily interested in Williams is just letting Barcelona sign him with no challenge. It makes no sense to me at all. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too old school. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe I don't understand that the PR is more important. But it seems weird to me how fans especially are reluctant for their clubs to put their sort of head above the parapet.
Yeah, weird, isn't it? Weird. I agree. I think you know, if he's available, put them. Listen, as well, you can give him a deadline. You know what I mean? You can put the bid in and say, listen, you know, Nico, you know, this is the bid. Obviously, we've activated your release clause. We know that Barca are interested. We know that maybe you've got interest on Barca. Our bid is valid for a week. After that, we're moving on. We ain't gonna wait forever. You know what I mean? So then you sort of play a bit of poker and say, well, listen, you know, if you decide not to join within a week deadline or whatever, and then Barca can't raise the funds, then you're staying where you are, bro. You put the pressure on him a little bit, man. At the end of the day, like Arsenal said when they moved to the Emirates, they're doing it to compete with these teams. That's not just competing with them on the pitch, 11v11 in the Champions League. It's competing with them off the pitch. And guess what? Sometimes on the pitch you lose. Sometimes off the pitch you lose. We went for Jude Bellingham. We lost. We lost the deal. You know what I mean? But you still got to try. You still got to fight. Arsenal now, for me, if they're interested in this player and they want the player, put the bid in, activate whatever clause it is, yeah, and see what happens and fight for the player. Otherwise, again, you're just sort of acting like this beta club, like, oh, no, we can't compete with this team. It's like, no, like, not being funny, yeah, Arsenal are a massive team. You know, they're a massive football club. They've got loads of money, yeah. It's obviously in London as well, which is a lot of people like living in London. So do it, man. Go and activate the release clause. Be the big club, man. Start throwing, you know, your muscle around. You know, you're competing for Premier Leagues now, 2 years on the bounce. You know what I mean? You've got to start challenging Barca. You've got to start challenging Real Madrid, the cities of the world, the Bayerns. Otherwise, you're never going to progress. This is what I'm saying with City, man. The players that we're signing now, if Real Madrid wouldn't have signed a player, if they wouldn't have got in the Real Madrid team or the Barca team or the Bayern team, I don't want them. I don't want them because that's what you got to do. You got to compete with these teams. So I don't get it, man. And if the player rejects you, so what? Who cares? You move on to the next one and you trust that your board is going to get the next best guy, you know?
I agree. Puck here says, Terry, not everyone operates like United offering treble to get the player. Well, let's make this right. No one is turning around and saying Arsenal should offer 3 times the release clause. No one's saying they should bid £150 million for the player. Man United didn't bid treble the market value of Lenny Euro. We bid the market value, which was around 50 million euros. So we paid his going rate, which Lille accepted. It wasn't our fault that other clubs undervalued him based on market forces. Now, secondly, I actually disagree with you. I think if you look at the difference between Arsenal and Man United, Arsenal and City, Arsenal and Real Madrid, Arsenal and Barcelona over the last 20 years, and Man United have had some good times in that and some awful times in that. The one thing Arsenal haven't done on a regular enough basis is go to a player and say, look, I know that you've just been offered 150 grand a week by Barca. There's 180, there's 200,000, there's 220,000. We want you, making it happen. Sitting on, and I've always had this argument with Gooners, and you all know in the last couple of years, especially, I must have praised your club for doing the right thing. And one of the biggest areas I praised you in was, look at you renewing all these deals. The amount of times I've seen Arsenal lose their best players when it comes to getting a new deal because they haven't been prepared to pay the going rate. You've now moved up a level. Now, when you want to sign the top players who will improve you further, they have to come in on that top money. Because you're not a team that's in development stage anymore. You're in a team that should be in win mode. And when you're buying a player, the only way you get Nico Williams is by saying we are this close to Premier League and Champions League glory and you're going to get us over the line. You were going to be a mainstay first-team player. Fair enough, he hasn't done the groundwork at Arsenal that the others have done, but he comes in on the same money, if not more. That is the way every other top football club has worked. All those clubs, predominantly all those clubs, you always get your outliers like Leicester, that have won the Prem and or won the Champions League in the last 25 years. That is typically how they operate. So don't act like Man United in the last 10 years because we had absolute clowns running our football club. But there comes a point where you can't just say, yeah, but we had the best net spend. Yeah, but pound for pound, you look at our wage bill versus City, our wage bill versus Madrid, our wage bill versus, we're still the real winners. You've got to say, no, let's break it. Because breaking that barrier with a good team leads to trophies, which leads to more money. There comes a point where you've got to speculate to accumulate. So don't put all this down to United have wasted money in the past. I don't want us to waste money. You're not operating. You ain't got Woodward running you. You've been run really well in the last few years. You're in a good space. Go and spend the money. Break the bank a little bit. This idea that if you break the bank, it's going to create a negative culture at your club is wrong. Wasting money on players that are not needed, that are not of the right standard, and adding them to a toxic environment, that messes things up. But you're not that club anymore. It's a positive place. It's been, and I'm being a little sarcastic when I say this, Arteta fixed it, right? So if he's fixed your culture, how could signing one of the best attackers in the world break it? It can't. Why doesn't it break Real Madrid? Why? Why didn't it break City when they signed top players? Why did it never break Man United when we were run well? It doesn't. Genuinely, my friend. Again, Arsenal so close. Now, I don't want them to as a Man United fan. I want everyone to foul and go backwards and I want us to progress. But I look at it, for 49 million euros for a player of his quality, he's a £100 million player. What you're saving because of the buyout clause, stick some of it into his wages. Pay his agent an extra 5 million. Say, listen, bruv, I'll give you 5 million cash if you convince him. That is what all the biggest, the most successful clubs do. If you don't act the same, you're not going to end up with the same end results of those trophies. Trust me.
You know what?
You've got to show the ambition for sure. You got to show the ambition.
I just want to come on that point as well on sort of like the money and the wages and situation. Yeah, no one ever questions the money of the top players when they're getting paid 300 to 500 grand a week when they're good. No one questions Haaland getting paid 500 grand a week. No one questions Kevin De Bruyne getting paid 500 grand. Why? Because they're delivering. Haaland's scoring 40, 50 goals a season. Do you know what I mean? In my own fan base right now, we're looking at our wage bill and we're questioning the likes of Phillips. Why is Phillips on 150k a week? No one's questioning why Rodri is on 250 or Haaland's on 500. No one's questioning why Saka's on 250k at Arsenal. You'll be questioning the poor players. If you think Nico Williams is a baller and you think Nico Williams is a player that can take you up a level, you are obligated, in my opinion, as a football club to buy the player. In my view, you cannot just sit with a worse player just because you might have to pay more money. Like, at the end of the day, if they think Nico Williams is as good as he is, yeah, and they have to pay him 300k a week, and then just do it. Because if you think he's better than Martinelli or you think he's better than Trossard, then for me, you're obligated as a football club to buy it, especially when it's 49 million quid as a release clause, which is just a joke, man.
I agree. And there's a comment here from DJ that says, oh my God, we're going to have to suffer with this. Look what we did to Madrid on Euro. It's nothing to do with that per se. The only element that's similar is there's so many comments saying, well, Williams only wants Barca. But we heard that about Euro. Terry, but Fabrizio also said that Barca are only focused on Williams. Yes, and Fabrizio also said that they're still trying to convince Williams to agree to join them. So none of what you're saying to me makes sense. This is nothing to do with Man United getting Lenny Euro per se. All I'm saying is this. I think there are some Arsenal fans that don't want to pursue him, and they're happy for their club not to pursue him because that way they weren't rejected. But you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. It doesn't make sense to me. You should be doing it. If you believe the same report from credible outlets that Nico Williams, you will make a move from Williams because he's your number one attacking target if the deal for Barca falls through. I don't understand why you're allowing it to get to that point.
If he doesn't want to come to Arsenal, it's not because Arsenal are an absolute mess and they look terrible. And my God, why the hell would you want to go play for them? It's because he wants to stay in Spain and play for Barcelona. There's a lot of Spanish players that would love to do that. Yeah, he's looking at Lamine Yamal. He's looking at other players that they're going to be signing. He's also looking at what they've already got. And potentially he likes that move. That doesn't mean that he does not like Arsenal when it comes. So the fan base should not be sensitive about that and delicate about it, in my opinion. I actually understand why some of the chat are mentioning Euro, because for me, I thought Manchester United did absolutely the right thing. Was, oh, he wants Real Madrid. Well, okay, see if he wants Real Madrid now. Boom, you get him. That's exactly what Arsenal should be doing. He wants Barcelona. See if he wants Barcelona now. And as long as 250k a week and activate his release club.
And if we'd have done this Euro deal a couple of years ago under Woodward, I'd be worried about it because I don't trust his judgment, and I believe it would have been about money. But I don't believe that Barada and Ashworth and co would accept that. I think they'd be looking at the player and his attitude, what they're talking about. Does he really want to be here? And yeah, money's an important part. But I think if you're an Arsenal fan and you trust your board, which a lot do, if you trust Edu, you trust Arteta, I don't think they would say Williams only says yes if you offered him ridiculous money and there was no, well, where would I play? Tell me about the project, tell me about what you're trying to do. If it was all just about, well, how much are you going to pay me? Then I would agree, walk away. If it's only about money, you would walk away. But you also trust your club. And if you trust the people that are making those decisions, then it shouldn't matter if it's because you're offering him lots of money as well, because you know they're not going to make a decision that's going to ruin your dressing room. I just find it weird that there's so many fans at every club. This isn't specific to Arsenal, that are like, well, there's no point bidding for him. We might not. Liverpool fans did it with Euro. A lot of United fans did it with Lenny Euro. They were like, well, no, we're just going to get rejected. What's the point? Well, give it a go.
You know, you can also do Terry as well. You can also say to Nico Williams, look, Barca are broke, right? They might not be able to afford you. Put the deadline bid in, yeah. So you've got a week to accept our bid or not. And then when you're doing the contract, you can always say to him, look, in 2-3 years, we can insert some sort of release clause available to Barcelona or whatever at a certain price to allow you to go back to Barcelona should that football club come in. We see these clauses all the time in players' contracts where, oh, if a Spanish team comes back in for me, then I want to go back to Spain. They could have done that. Now, they would have to deal with the whole, oh, he's using you as a stepping stone. But who cares, man? If Nico Williams comes in and helps Arsenal improve in 2-3 years, but then he goes back to Spain in 3 years' time, but Arsenal won the Premier League or the Champions League and Nico Williams scored the winner, you think Popsy's going to be sitting here saying, I wish we never signed him. He used us as a stepping stone. Is he hell, man? Just do it.
This is just Terry. I've been watching Williams for a few seasons, and I'm going to tell you this dude is wasteful up front, and he ain't better than Martinelli. I guarantee you that Euros fooled a lot of people. Well, I'll tell you this now. If that's your reason for not wanting him, I back that, bro. That's a solid opinion. I am and this is what I would say to football fans sometimes, listen to what's being said. If that's your rationale, then you've got no reason to be annoyed. If your rationale is just focus on somebody that wants us, we have to find people that only want Arsenal. That's what I'm calling out. That attitude is ridiculous, because I can guarantee you now, if you went through all 26 members of your squad, I guarantee there's probably only 5 or 6 of them that are like, I only want to be at Arsenal. Publicly, they'll all say it. But privately, even at Madrid, I guarantee you a lot of those Madrid players, if you got them to be honest, would say, I'd love to go to Munich one day. I'd love to play for Liverpool one day, or I'd love to go, because that's just normal, bruv. It's normal. So your reasoning, I respect. But if Arsenal see him as the number one choice, as many credible Arsenal journalists have said, but only if the deal to Barca falls through, my question is, why are you allowing that deal to proceed? You know, you did it with Rafinha a couple of years ago. You didn't get him, but that was proper ambition. And I personally like to see clubs do that. This here says Williams only wants Barcelona or to stay, simple, but that just isn't true. It just isn't true at all. That's not what any of the reports say, any of the credible ones anyway. One fan doesn't represent an entire fan base. Absolutely agree with you. Salvio and Bruno would be the best window by far. Would you be happy with that window? Bruno Gomares and Salvio, would that be enough for you, LB at City?
That's it, bro. That's it. 120 mil, done and dusted. 5p, locked off. You know what I mean? That's it, man. Like, we don't need major work. We don't need major surgery. I'd like a new fullback, like a utility fullback that could maybe play both positions, left back and right back. But it's not an issue. It's not a major concern for me. So yeah, get me Bruno, get me a midfielder. Savio's come in. That's all we need.
This here from Muddy Soft says, should Arteta be sacked if he doesn't win anything this season?
I've been waiting for this comment, this chat, innit? You know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah, he should be. Yeah. We've got to win silverware this season, man. No excuses. Last season, a lot of people give context, and I thought fair play. He got us to the last game of the season. Went out to Bayern Munich, which was disappointing, but at least it's not going out to Club Brugge or Olympiacos or someone like that. But throwing away domestic cups was a poor decision from Mikel Arteta. And if we don't win something this year, the question will be the same question LB put to us earlier. When's enough then? Because this will be 5 years and it will be no trophy, which is the longest trophy drought in the last decade at Arsenal. So I think we would have to say...
Would the Carabao Cup be enough? Genuine question. If you won a Carabao Cup and finish second, would you still say...
Yes. Yeah, because it's a trophy and people like poo-poo that cup. You know, I don't know why they do, because I grew up on those trophies. And George Graham would never have poo-pooed it. Paul Merson, Tony Adams, Ian Wright, they would never have poo-pooed a Carabao Cup. People call it the Energy Drink Cup now. It's the League Cup, man. It's got a history, and there's a lot of people that should take it seriously. For example, Man City and Chelsea the last 2 decades have taken it very seriously, because winning breeds confidence, man. And if we win a trophy, we can say this team has won something with Mikel Arteta. It's been successful. He's finally won a trophy, and we go again. But if we miss out on everything, it's going to be very hard for people to defend why he should stay here and spend another 200 million in a window and go again next year. So this season's got to be some silverware, man.
Well, you said about the League Cup as well. It's interesting. Man United have 6 League Cups in our history. 5 of them have come in the last 20 years. So it was a trophy that we didn't take overly seriously for a long time. But I feel like since Chelsea got their money and City got their money and trophies became harder to win, Man United have taken it much more seriously than we used to. And I think that I do agree with you. And I'm going to just say, just not apply context for a moment. And so often in football now, there's always a caveat and a this and a that. And that's because the viewers always try and hold you to account. As a general rule, Arteta's got to win something this year. Now, we all can apply context, as you say. You know, if he loses an FA Cup final narrowly 1-0 to a brilliant Man United team, loses a Champions League narrowly to a Real Madrid team, and misses out on winning the league by a point on 98, then you'll apply the context in that moment. You would. But you might also apply the context, but it depends on, you know, were you the better team in those 2 finals, but missed out, didn't finish your dinner, and were you leading the league by 10 points and finished 1 behind? We'll apply the context when we get there. But he has to start winning. He has to win something. He just does. Otherwise, Arsenal are in a position where it's right on the edge. And we spoke about England in this way, although I do think you play much better football than England. There comes a point where you can't just keep getting to semi-finals and finals. You've got to get over the line. You've got to win. So for me, that's a real important factor here for Arteta this season. It's winning. And you mentioned earlier, if he ends up bringing, and it might not be Nico Williams, but if you bring in Nico Williams or Pedro Neto, you bring in Calafiori and Merino that you're linked to, they're almost just zero excuse. Your squad is built. The experience is there. Your young players are now in their mid-20s. You've got the best defensive record in the league last year. 2 seasons running, scoring record goals in the Prem. There's just no reason to. But when it comes to those early rounds in the FA Cup and the League Cup, he's got to start playing stronger teams. He just has to.
He has to take domestic cup seriously. And for the Arsenal fans that are like, this is really harsh to sack a manager for coming second again. Why did you march down Horsey Road when Wenger comes second then to get him out? Raise the standards, keep the standards, man. We come second and everybody wanted him out. So why, if this manager comes second after 5 years with 800 million spent, which will be potentially at the end of this season, should we keep him? Like, let's just keep it the same levels. I just don't understand why the fan base is so obsessed with managers. I couldn't give a damn who manages Arsenal. Just win me trophies. I don't care what your name is, or if your hair's nice, or if you've got a dog called Win that you bring into the club. Just go and win me a bloody trophy, man. I don't care who you are. It's not Arteta in or Arteta out. I'm Arsenal in. Yeah? I'm Arsenal in. Win trophies. Keep your job. It's simple. That's why Ten Hag's still the Man United manager. You think Man United would have kept Ten Hag if he wouldn't have won anything in the last couple of years? It's the only thing or reason that he's here. It's because he's won 2 League Cups and nobody even wants him here still.
Well, it's funny because I've seen a lot of people, including Rory Jennings, we mentioned earlier, kick off about Ten Hag's comments yesterday that only Pep has had a bigger impact in England in the last 2 years than him. And a lot of people are saying, well, all these managers have outperformed you. All these other managers have played better football than you. And some of that is true. But what Ten Hag was talking about was impact in terms of picking up trophies. And it's absolutely true. In the last 2 years in England, only Pep has outdone Ten Hag. And it's about history as well. Because in the here and now, we all really care about context. We all do. But in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years time, which does matter because our history matters to us now, so it's going to matter in the future, all that you're going to really remember is who won these trophies. And that's what you've got to be aiming for. Now, I'm not someone that believes, like Standard FC, that you can go from being absolutely awful to being a title winner in a summer or with a click of a fingers. It takes time to get there. But Arsenal are one of the best teams in England, and I think you're actually one of the best teams in Europe on your day over the last couple of years, how you play, defensive records, goal scoring, and ability. I judged you last season on it, and I'll judge you again this season. You're purely now being judged on the trophies that you win. That's it. You're at that point. You've got to that level where the trophies is what you're being judged on, not the build and the project around it. It's the trophies that you now win. You're in that mold. You're in that space. And I think Arsenal fans have got to learn to embrace that a little bit more and keep putting that pressure on your team. And I still think you're a scary side. I still think you're an excellent side. I think you're going to be in the title race this season, no matter what, especially with who you're linked to. But he can't just be judged anymore on being an inexperienced manager. Was he going into his 5th or 6th season now?
Yep.
You've got to start judging him properly on the trophies that he is or isn't winning. And half the issue is, and Klopp made this mistake in the earliest part of his career at Liverpool, and I think he regrets it massively now. He didn't take the League Cup and FA Cup seriously in the first 4, 5, 6 years. And when he did in the last couple of seasons, look how many finals and trophies he won. If he'd have done that from day one, he could have walked away with 4, 5, 6 more trophies, which again, from a legacy perspective, changes everything. Changes everything, you know. And if you guys finish second next year by a point or two, but you pick up a Carabao Cup, you get to a semi-final in the Champions League, it buys him more time to keep being your manager in the league, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think he's got to win. I think he's got to win something. Comment here that's come out saying that Arsenal are sending scouts to watch Victor Gyökeres during Sporting's pre-season friendlies.
Yeah, I believe if we were to get a centre forward, that he's probably the likely one to come. Not going to get Isak. Doesn't look like we're interested in Tony, and I don't really understand any of the other names we're linked with. Osimhen looks like he's PSG bound. For me, I think Victor Gyökeres would be a potential one for Arsenal. £84 million release clause. It's a lot of money, but let's be real. If he comes in and he bangs, it gets Arsenal over the line. I think, like you said earlier, Terry, you've got to try these things, man. And this is a guy that's gone to England and scored over 30 goals to Coventry, scored over 30 goals for Sporting Lisbon, and has kind of banged wherever he's been. So I don't think this would be a horrendous signing. Some people don't want him because it's a risk, but what signing into risk? All signings are risks. Sometimes you've got to take a bit of a risk. And if we were to look at a striker, then I would take Victor Gyökeres, 100%.
I thought you needed a striker. I know a lot of people wanted Tony, man, but he's gone off the boil, man. I think since he come back from that gambling thing. I know he's done all right, obviously, at England and that, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting. I think Arsenal needed a couple players, maybe three players. I reckon they probably needed just to bolster the squad. Number 9 probably is what I think you need. I think these days, man, I think you need a good number 9. I do. I think false 9. I know we won the league with it a few years ago, but just to have someone reliable that can just put the ball in the back of the net. And to be fair, Havertz was doing that quite a bit, especially towards the end of the season. So I'd be surprised if you sign a new number 9. I think he's going to stick with Havertz, bro. I can't lie.
Maybe he will. Maybe he will. It wouldn't surprise me if Havertz started the season at 9. I said that. If we get Nico Williams, then maybe he will be the only one that we go for across the front 3. But that could be a risk, man. We need a killer. We need somebody that in the games where we didn't win against West Ham at the Emirates, Liverpool in the FA Cup at the Emirates, Aston Villa at the Emirates, you have a killer in those games, Arsenal win the league. That's how important it is. So, yes, we scored 91 goals. Yes, we're not having a problem scoring, but we do sometimes have wasteful strikers that aren't clinical. Gabriel Jesus and Havertz are 2 of those. So, yeah, man, I'll be taking Gyökeres if there's an opportunity for us to.
There we go. Where does it say that by impact Ten Hag means trophies? Do you just put meaning based on your agenda? No, I'm basing it on how I interpreted it. The same as I once heard LVG say that he won titles at Man United. You didn't win the league. We know what he means. He means titles. He means trophies. And it's sometimes in this world, sometimes we take the words people say and we run with it as opposed to trying to understand what it is they're trying to say. And when I heard what he said, I straight away knew what he was implying. I don't think he means impact in terms of my football has impacted the world more, or we've played the second best football. He's purely talking about winning the trophies. So it's not an agenda. It's what I believe he meant, in my humble opinion. This here, Vinny, Mbappe, Rodri, Endrick, Diaz are the Arsenal buy one. Which of them would you buy if you had the choice?
Oh, blimey. That's some good.
Vinny Jr.
Vinicius Jr. be my option, yeah.
I'd go with Rodri. Is that Rodri is in? No, no,
Rodrigo.
Yeah, Rodrigo. No, then I would go with. I'd go with Mbappe. He'd sell a lot of shirts at Man United, so bring some money in. Boys, look, it's always a pleasure to sit and speak football with the two of you. I really appreciate it. We'll be back at the same time next week. This video is going to take you through to Dan Potts' channel, The 12th Man. So go check that out for his show that's starting. Meant to start 5 minutes ago. We've overrun. Apologies. That's starting. So get yourselves over there and support. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, LB. Have a good time. Hopefully you get a bit more of a tan when we see you next Tuesday. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. I just realized what that means. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.